And so again, this is Alicia Berglund and Lindsay Walsh at Tidestone Solutions, and today's webinar is about the Microsoft Dynamics GP Historical Inventory Trial Balance Report. And as a start off, I'm going to hand over to Lindsay to introduce you to us a little bit.
Hi there, this is Lindsay with Tidestone Solutions. Welcome to our webinar. As many of you know, we do a monthly webinar on how to maximize different areas of efficiency using Dynamics GP. We are a Microsoft Dynamics GP partner, and we've been working for over 20 years helping our clients improve their business process. We have a very strong focus in our mission and our daily work of building long-term relationships with our customers and helping all of our existing customers to build efficiencies, streamline their processes, and take their business to the next level. We're not a sales organization. We really like to have those long-term relationships and be the business partner to our existing customers. Some of the things that we specialize in is software selection, whether that's the initial selection of an ERP system or if that's finding a third-party product that will integrate with your system to help you streamline another process and get everything all in sync. We do data conversion, custom reporting, whether that's Excel reports or using SQL Service reporting services. We do software implementation. We help with automation of tasks. And we have a really strong focus on customization and development. We've got a top-notch development team here. So without further ado, I will pass you back to Alicia, and she'll be going over the content today for our webinar. And we hope to see you at future webinars and at the GP user group next month. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. So we'll just get started here. We'll go through some of the process in one of my demo environments, but since it's a bit of a time-consuming process, we won't be able to go through the whole process in my dev machine, but we do have some slides that we can take a look at. So what I'd first like to talk about is the agenda, and that is we'll review a bit about what is the HITB, what's the purpose of that report, where you'll find that report in GP and what printing parameters you have, how you can use that HITB report in reconciling your inventory to GL. And then we'll just go through the processes of using the HITB inventory reset tool. And so you can see that the steps below outline exactly what the steps are that you need to do in using the tool. So let's just back up to the first item. And what is the HITB? And the Historical Inventory Trial Balance Report shows your inventory value as of a specific date or date range and the value of 5 different quantity types. You can use this report to balance your inventory value with the appropriate GL accounts in your general ledger. So it's similar to when you're reconciling your accounts receivable subledger to your general ledger accounts receivable control account. Now there is the inventory report to compare to the general ledger, which makes reconciling a whole lot easier because you understand what the detail is behind those numbers in your inventory values. And so the HITB report is available to you if you've implemented at version 2010 or 2013. You automatically have this report available to you and you don't have to run the reset tool. The reason being is this report wasn't available in prior versions, so they need to populate specific tables so that the HITB report can pull those values into the report. So if you implemented prior to those versions, then there are some steps that you need to go through. You need to ensure, if you're on version 10, that you're at least on Service Pack 2 or the most recent hotfix for Microsoft Dynamics GP 10. Now I would assume that if you're on 10 that you have a higher service pack or you have an upgrade planned for some time in the near future. Version 2013 is out, so if you're on 10, you're 2 versions behind. And so to take advantage of your software investment, it's usually in your best interest to stay up to date on those versions. If you have any questions about that, you can shoot me an email, and I'll be glad to get you some information on that. If you are on a prior release, then you do need to use this HITB inventory reset tool, which will ensure that your inventory and GL are in balance before you have the report available. So the tool will establish the beginning balances based on your current inventory for the appropriate accounts in the general ledger. And it will create entries in the general ledger to balance, to bring you into balance, and it will also create beginning balance records for all your inventory items in the HITB table. And that table, if you're a SQL person, is SEE30303. If not, you don't really even need to remember that. You can just know that there's a new table when you install this tool. All right, so the information that prints on the report is stored in that table, and all the inventory transactions and cost adjustments will create records in that table as you move forward after running the tool. So let's just take a look at where you print the report, kind of a glimpse into the future before we go through the steps. And I have 2 different development machines. I'm going to show you the actual report in a GP 2013 environment. And you can see here, this is the report after I've printed it. But let me just minimize this for a second so you can see some of the criteria that's available to you in printing the report. Very similar to the other report option windows that you've seen throughout GP. And so if I minimize here, the way that I got to this report was on the inventory area page under Activity, and then in Activity the report is called Historical IV Trial Balance. So Historical Inventory Trial Balance is the last one in the list. And so for today's purposes, I created an HITB. The way that I've generated this report that I thought would be most helpful in my reconciling my inventory to the GL was that I sorted by account number. That way, it identifies any inventory items that are associated with your inventory GL account and totals for that account. So on the report, the subtotal for an account number should match what your general ledger says. You can sort this by item number. If you want an overall view of all your items, you could certainly sort it that way. The next area, it talks about posting date or document date. Now, if you're reconciling to the general ledger, it's in your best interest to use GL posting date rather than document date. You may have different document and posting dates on transactions. So if you're reconciling to GL, you want to ensure that the dates you're referring to are the GL posting dates. You can print this by site or for all sites, and I've kept all marked. This checkbox here, I talked to Microsoft about this. It's kind of a little bug in the system. You can't uncheck this, and it shouldn't even be in the window. So in 2013, I'm not sure if in 2010 it looks like that. I think it does. In 2013, you can just ignore that. Unfortunately, it's like that. You can run the report by ranges. So if you're looking at a specific account number, you could select that account number and then insert it into your restrictions. And so I've already printed this report to screen. And you can see I've sorted it by account number, and it shows me every item that is associated with that account number and what the quantity is, the cost, the debit amount, And so when I reconcile to the GL, I can come down here for this grand total. Typically you'd have more than one item in a GL account. But here's my grand total for this GL account. If I come down further in the report, well, maybe it's just, oh, it is just one page. My mistake. So that's what it would look like for you, and you would just see your GL account number, all of the miscellaneous items within that account number, and a grand total. So you would take this grand total, go over to the GL, perhaps inquiry or trial balance, and compare it to the 1300.02 account. I didn't put a date restriction in here, but you can certainly run it as of a certain date. And in order to reconcile, you would need to know what date in the general ledger you're looking at. So that's where you find the report and what the different options are. Detail will show you everything. Summary will just, again, show you a summary view. So let's just take a look at that. And you can see that it doesn't list out as much detail about that item. And you still have your total to compare. Okay. So again, you go to the inventory area page, under reports, activity, historical IV trial balance. Or you can come down here under reports if you like the old driving reports, inventory, activity, and then historical IV trial balance. Okay. So back to our agenda, that's how you would print the HITB. And in using the historical trial balance, the main purpose of this trial balance report is to balance your inventory to your general ledger. In prior versions or before this tool, it was very difficult to reconcile to inventory to your general ledger. There wasn't a great tool to use. It was a combination of different reports. The stock status, if you forgot to print it, then you had to look at the historical stock status, and it got a little bit murky in there. So now with this report, you can balance to a single inventory account and limit it to that one GL account. And again, be sure that you use the same date when printing both reports so that you're comparing apples to apples. Some of the situations that might have occurred to cause your inventory to be out of balance, that the HITB, if the HITB doesn't balance, there are a few situations that may have occurred to throw you off. Now there is a document, and I can send it to all of you, the HITB reset tool document that outlines everything we're going over today, and I can send that to you. It's a 10 or 15 page document. Actually, let me see. It's not even that long. It's about 11 pages. And it outlines those situations. The first situation is that you posted to an inventory account through the general ledger and not through the inventory module. So someone did a journal entry to one of your inventory control accounts. That would definitely cause your HITB report to be off from your general ledger. That's an easy find. If you're looking through a smart list, just do a search criteria on the series of where that transaction came from in your inventory. If it's from financial, then you know that it was a journal entry, and you can reverse that out and make the adjusting entry. You have posted to the general ledger from the subledger, but in between, once you post inventory, if you have posting set up to post to the general ledger, whereas you post in inventory and then you post to general ledger, if someone changes those numbers at the point of posting the GL batch, it will cause you to be out of balance. If you have posted to an inventory account from inventory or payables or sales, but a record wasn't created in the SEE table, something went wrong with that, so that could cause you to be off. If SQL scripts were run that changed or updated transactions that were related to inventory or item setup that wasn't created or recreated in the SEE table. So those are a couple of the areas. Mainly what I see is that a journal entry was made to the general ledger without updating inventory. Okay, so those are some of the situations. So if we're looking at running the inventory reset tool, you must post all of your transactions that can affect your purchase receipts or inventory balances before you run this tool. So post all purchasing, all sales and inventory batches, including in the general ledger. Make sure all of those are posted before you actually start using this tool. And I've worked with this tool about a half a dozen times. I've had good success. I've had some challenges. And I just worked with Microsoft on an issue where there was a problem and I had to delete the SEE table, and now that tool has reset the balances appropriately. So it's kind of a technical process, so if you're not real comfortable with going through error messages and troubleshooting and correcting those, we're happy to help. Just give us a call and we'll do that process for you. Make sure you always have backups before you do anything like this, and do it in your test company first. You don't want to be creating adjustments in your live company before you're sure that's really what needs to happen. What does the adjustment look like? Is everyone on board? Those kind of things. So let's just go through some of the screenshots I have on the tool. So you can look here. I'm going to show you in GP where you go to find the tool. Once it's installed, you'll find that tool on your inventory area page. Under Utilities, and then HITB IV Reset Tool. Now when I select this, it's going to say that I've already completed it in this company because I have run through it in this company to get the screenshots. So we'll just say yes on that. So this is the first window. It's just telling you that you have launched the HITB Inventory Reset Tool wizard, and it walks you through the steps. So on the first page, it's going to run reconciliation on your inventory items. This window shows project accounting. If you don't use project accounting, you will not have this option in your window. My dev machine has project accounting, so I have to run reconcile for both inventory and for project accounting. So when you get to this window, you'll see it says Core Inventory Reconcile. You're going to click on the IV Reconcile button, and this window will come up. You'll want to keep the radio button at all and do not mark Include Item History. You only have to run it on current information. And so at that point, you're going to click Process, and it's going to go through the reconcile process for you. It will generate a report that will most likely create a log of errors. Many times there are errors that you have to take action on, and there is a frequently asked questions document that you can look at that outlines what those error messages mean and how you can fix them. Many times it involves running a SQL script, so again, if you're not technically inclined, it's probably a good idea to get some help on that. If you don't have internal IT, we can help you with that. Okay, so that's the first step. And running reconcile will go through all of your inventory items, scan them, make sure the tables are all in sync with the values, make sure all of the fields are complete, and it will identify any of the issues that you may be having with those items. The next step is the data integrity checks. And this step ensures maximum accuracy and integrity of your data before you reset the inventory balance. So you have to reconcile your inventory first, and then you run the data integrity check. And so you can see here, a report will run after, but if you click the button Run Data Checks, you can generate that report to screen, and once it's complete, it will tell you any of the issues you have. And I'm printing it here to screen for you in my system because I only have a warning. I corrected all of my issues. So this is saying, warning, this account type is a P&L, and it's assigned to an item number, which doesn't make sense. Inventory items should have a balance sheet account assigned to them. So this could be cause for being out of balance in the first place, and you'd want to go and correct that item if that's in fact incorrect. So you have the validation report. Most likely you'll have more than one item, and you just go through all of those different errors. And so it tells you completed with warnings. So when you have that message completed with warnings, it means that you are allowed to move forward. So the next is populating the HITB staging table. And that will populate the table so that it'll get you an edit list that shows you your current balances along with the account balance after the reset tool has completed. So it will give you an idea of what you have, what you'll be dealing with. And these balances are calculated based on the inventory accounts from the inventory master records at the time that you click this button. So if I were to click this button now, let's see if I can get a report quickly during our time. Okay. So what this is showing me now is these are my GL accounts, current balance after the reset, and the difference. And so what the staging table will do, after printing that, you're going to go to the next step that creates a clearing transaction to set these to zero once you've done the clearing transaction. And at this point, I do need to go back to my PowerPoint because it is not happy with me in my development machine. So you can see here's a printout of the report. That's the current balance, what it will be after the reset, and this is the difference. The next step is to create the clearing transaction. So what this is going to do, there's going to be a GL batch created, and you'll get an edit list for this, to clear your GL balances, and then the next step in the future will be to put the balances back at the totals that will reconcile to your inventory subledger. So you have to determine what is that offset account going to be that you make the adjusting entry to. Now you really don't want it to your finished goods account number. You either want it to cost of goods, or what I would recommend and I prefer is an entirely new account that says it's the HITB reset offset account, so that you know exactly how much you made the adjustment for. You can show it to your auditors, and then you can determine where you're going to send that amount to or reclass that to at the end of this process. So it kind of keeps it contained rather than buried in your cost of goods sold amounts. So at this point, I would have changed this to a different account and clicked on Create Batch. So in this window, let me go back a second. If I go forward, let me see if I can still go forward. After I create the batch, it creates your general ledger batch. And so you can review what those transactions will be like. So if you wanted to look at your edit list, you could certainly do that. and it will show you the transactions that are going to be made. So if we look here, it's going to hit this inventory account for 138. And this is my sample company. And it will hit my finished goods, my offset as well. So once I've posted this, I'm not going to post it, I don't want to tie up my system, but once I've posted this, I should be able to come back in here and print this edit list. And once I've posted that batch, these balances should be 0. And if they're not, you need to stop and figure out why it's not coming to 0. What I ran into in a recent reset is that I had to go back and delete those SEE tables because for some reason when they were created, they grabbed totals or balances that were invalid. So it wasn't allowing me to get to 0. I haven't done that in this development machine, which would probably help me get back to 0. But for today's purposes, I just wanted you to be able to see this edit and to give you a heads up as to why that might not be 0 and a potential fix. And you always have Microsoft as a resource as well. If you get into one of these situations where your IT team has not been able to get it to 0, you can either contact us or you can contact Microsoft directly and have them walk you through why it might not be setting to 0, and they'll help you to get that fixed, as will we. Okay. So let's go back here. So we've created the batch. We've posted the GL batch. It's all at 0. There's the message that we saw. And then there's another batch that you will see after you run the create GL transactions and HITB records. So the first step is clearing out the balances. The second step is bringing those balances in and populating that table so that they're both in sync. That table that the inventory values are at will be updated, as well as the GL balances. And any variance is going to be sitting in that offset account. So again, this should go to the offset. And it looks like neither one was set to an appropriate account. So once you've selected your offset account, you create your batch, which brings all of the balances back in. You post that batch, and again, you can use the edit list and print from this window. And you would post that batch. And so the next couple of steps would be to finalize the reset after you've posted your batch. Then you click Next and Finish. Now before you try using that HITB report, you must log out of GP and log back in. It needs a minute to populate that table. If your server is slow, which is what I ran into recently, log out and give it a few minutes and then log back in. It's almost like the tables need a minute to catch up if your server's performance is slow, so that when you use that report, it will actually populate with the appropriate balances. Okay, so we looked at printing that report, that you'd go to the inventory area page, select activity, select the trial balance, and create a report option. And you have different sort by and restrictions that you can put into that, and you reconcile it to your general ledger. And what I would say to do after you've run the report, what I typically do as a first step is I just go into Inquiry Summary for Financial, and I would pull up one of those inventory accounts. And from here, I would look at the total, and so perhaps for period 4, I would run my HITB for that exact ending date, and the grand total for that account, $1,302, should be this balance. Okay, so I've gone too far ahead. I just want to go and Let's see. It's not doing what I want it to do. There we go. So what I'm going to do at this point, I know we went through a lot of steps. What I'd like to do at this point, I haven't seen any chat questions, but what I'd like to do is I'm going to take everyone off mute. So if you are keying, would you please mute yourself? If you have a question, let me know. And so you're all off of mute now. So if you have a question, I'll do my best to field that question and get you an answer. Any questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
We've got HITB, I've got HITB already set up on my computer, but I don't, in utilities, I don't see the HITB reset tool. Do I need that installed, or is that something our IT person takes care of?
Is this Sue?
This is Sue, yes.
Hi, Sue. So
Hi.
When did you implement GP?
When?
Yeah. Was it before version 2010 or 10?
Yes. I've been here for 3 years, and they installed GP back, I think, in 03.
Okay. And so if you have that HITB report available, that tells me that someone went through this process at one point or another. Are you able to generate that report and get results?
Yes, when you did it, I got one. I was able to print something off in it, but this is where right now but we use Great Plains, and then we also have a custom package that we use, and they don't exactly, like the wires don't connect that well all the time. This is the way it was presented to me, so there's some type of snag with the HITB report.
So you're not getting all inventory transactions into GP?
No, that's the way I understand it, no.
Yeah, that would definitely throw a wrench in using the HITB, because it needs to be able to see all inventory transactions, whether it's purchasing or an inventory transfer or a sale of an item.
Okay.
So you need all of those pieces for the HITB to work.
Okay, so you're saying that since you don't see, I don't have this reset tool. Yes, it was already, our IT person, he tried it over about a month ago over the weekend. So I don't need it, correct, on my computer?
You don't need it, no.
Okay.
No, and really the only person who needs it is the person who's going to run the process. So you may not see it, because the person running the process, it needs to install. You know, it's a chunk file. Okay. So it needs to be installed in GP before you'll see it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Okay, well, I'll take the silence as a no. Thank you all for attending, and I just wanted to let you know that we do have, whoops, I went too far again, silly me, that we have our Dynamics GP User Group meeting next month, the 12th at Nappy Distributors. For more information on that, you can go to our website, tidestonesolutions.com, category events. We also have next month's webinar as Management Reporter. So if you're using Management Reporter or considering Management Reporter, we'll be going through some of the differences between FRX and Management Reporter and some of the benefits of using Management Reporter. And then in October, looking ahead, we're going to be talking about how to prep for an audit. So I hope to see you all there. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to email me. I will send you the HITB reset tool manual after today, and also if you go to our website, you will see or you will have available to you the recorded webinar from today. So again, thank you very much for your time, and I hope that you found the webinar helpful. Have a great day.